Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this afternoon. And today we're diving into a topic that's often overlooked in the live music industry: pregnancy and motherhood, and more broadly, the role of women backstage. My guest today is Malle Kaas, an experienced sound engineer and founder of WILM, the Women in Live Music Association. And she's actively working to make our industry more inclusive and supportive. Malle, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This was the first time when I watched my introduction video concerning the part of male and female technicians, and I must say it's only men appearing in the introduction video. This is like a sign about the current situation. But let's talk about the survey you made concerning pregnancy and motherhood. WILM conducted a survey on pregnancy and motherhood in live music. Why was this an important topic to explore for you?
Well, for the more than 10 years now, I have, among other, been observing diversity in our industry, and especially the women. How are they doing? How many are they? Where they're coming from? What is their history? And over time, we noticed that women were, if they wanted to have a family, they would often say, I want to have a family, but I want to wait until I'm not working in this industry any longer. And we all know how we love our work in this industry. So that meant for a lot of women that at the time they were done working in this industry, they were maybe too old to have kids. So we saw that as a problem, that it was kind of a catastrophe for a lot of females that they would postpone having kids because it would maybe result in that they could not have kids when they then finally wanted some. So that was one problem we saw. But another thing was that those who then decided to have kids, and this goes for both on stage and off stage, they were hiding their pregnancies. And they still do today. And they do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, they are afraid of not being asked to work. And we have seen several cases where it was the fact that when they told they were pregnant, they were not asked back for work anymore. But it was also because they were afraid of getting out of the loop after having their kids. They were afraid that people would think, oh, now she's a mom, so she's not coming back. So a lot of the women that we saw that did decide to have kids, they were hiding their pregnancy up until they were like 7, 8 months pregnant. They were still working and it wasn't an issue for them, but it was an issue if the surroundings were finding out that they were having kids. And we thought that it's not right. It shouldn't be that way. We can't have an industry where like thousands of people are working in these, and some of them are women, that they have to hide that they're getting a kid. Honestly, we have 2025. Well, back then when we did first report, that was 2020. So that's only like 5 years ago. And we were actually the first one in the industry to address this issue, that we have a problem. We have women who are postponing having kids, and we are having women who are hiding their pregnancy. It shouldn't be that way in the live music industry, which is all about bringing joy to people. So what's that about? That you can't be a woman in this industry being pregnant. But actually, we were doing a panel some years ago, and there was this woman in the audience. It was a panel on well-being in the industry, and there was a woman. She certainly came with this remark saying, being a drunk in the live music industry is more acceptable than being pregnant. And I think that says it all.
That's a strong word, yes. And did the survey reveal any details about affection of careers? I mean, we talked a little bit about this now, but did you get some more detailed information through the survey?
Yeah, well, our survey did show that we were right about our observations, that there were like a a third of the women that was of those we asked were postponing pregnancy, having kids, and there was a third that were hiding that they were pregnant. Then there was of course a group that was deciding not to have any kids, and then there were those that didn't see it as a problem, but that was definitely the minority.
Mhm.
And yes, it also revealed that a lot of the women were afraid of not being able to come back to work because they were afraid of they were out of the loop, that nobody would take them in anymore because they were having kids. But there were also those who did experience that it was really hard for them to get back to work, that especially when they were still breastfeeding or still having small kids under 2 years, that they were just not getting any work.
Mhm. And a practical question, I mean, is it general, you have some professions where you have immediately to stop working when you are pregnant because the unborn child could be in danger. Is there any such kind or any such connection between live music and pregnancy? Asking as a male.
Well, I would put it this way. Women has had kids for millions of years. And, it's nature, and it's all, well, at least in our industry, I hope, adult women who knows how to take a responsibility for themselves, their body, and for their unborn child. So it shouldn't be up to the employers to take the decision. It should be the woman in the first place taking the decision, can I do this work or not? And
Hmm.
if she says, I can do this job, I still want to do my job, but I might need some help, it should be legit for her to ask for help. And it's not. It's definitely not. So we're working on a follow-up research right now, and that shows that women are afraid of asking for help because they know um, that if they tell their colleagues that, oh, I need some help, it will immediately have an effect on them and their chances of getting it. Because, like most of us are freelancers, so we do depend on getting jobs all the time. We're going from one job to the other. And this is it is a big issue for the women who are pregnant. So, and I would say, because I'm also, I come from a medical background as well, so that could actually put the woman or maybe the child in danger because she's holding back information that is important for her surroundings to know about.
So yeah, but in generally, what is your main goal then? People, I mean, pregnancy. So we have now is no problem working in live sound environments. So what is your final goal? That is a final acceptance of pregnancy and motherhood, in the sense of that women bring their children with to work.
Well, again, it needs to be up to the individual woman,
Mm-hmm.
women what to do and not to do.
Mm-hmm.
First place, it should not be the industry determine that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the past couple of years, there's been so much debate about the lack of women, both on stage and behind the stage. And there is all these initiatives, and WILM is one of them that is working for more women working backstage in production, logistic, and technique. And if we're having more women, we will be faced with this issue more and more. So we need to come up with some solutions. Well, how can we accommodate better facilities and conditions for women in the industry? So one, they're not afraid for having a family while they're in the industry. And second, it's not a problem for them to keep working while they're pregnant. So we need to address this issue. And after 5 years, where we have actually put a focus on this topic, we don't really see anybody else talking about this. And the industry is definitely not talking about it. But maybe because like 95% of this industry are men, at least backstage. And it's not something we really talk about. So for WILM, it's important for us to keep having it on our agenda, because we need to address this, because with more women, again, like I said, we'll be facing this issue more and more often. And we need to figure out what are we going to do about it, because it can't be that way that, you know, you have to choose between parenthood and a career in the live music industry. You shouldn't need to face this choice. You should be able to do both. But I think in the end, and that's what we're kind of like getting to in our second report, which is called Parenthood in the Touring World, we are kind of like suggesting that we would need unions, we would need politicians, and not least we would need the industry to come up with some solution, but also some money, so we can actually accommodate some solutions for pregnant women, or, you know, just parents in general in this industry. So it needs to be a more family friendly industry, because, you know, let's face it, a lot of the people working in this industry, parents are going to be parents. And you know, our industry, the touring industry is only like 60 years old. It's not that old. And imagine all the men who has been touring for decades. You know, nobody has really asked them, are you missing your kids at home? Would you like to have the possibility to bring your kid out here? Nobody has really done that. And I think that's a big mistake. So we're actually, in our new report, we're asking the dads, like, how do you cope with being away from your kid? And we need to take that into account as well. You know, that the dads needs to be asked, how is it for you to be out on the road and having family at home? Because I don't think that's easy for them either.
Okay. So, and what can colleagues, promoters, and agents do to support this change in practice?
Well, come and join us on this debate. For once, you know, that's one thing that needs to happen. Because they're definitely, for the live music industry, for us working backstage, they are the gatekeepers. You know, they are in the way for a lot of things. And they need to start coming up with solutions. Definitely, like all the agencies, rental companies, the management, etc. They need to accept that women working backstage, or also men, are having kids, and, you know, how can we deal with this so everybody are happy? Because in the end, what we're all looking for is a positive, healthy working environment. And for instance, being a pregnant woman who has to hide her pregnancy, it's not okay at all. It's not acceptable.
Okay, we have one, talking about solutions, we have one question from Ann Baker. She wants to know, do you have any concrete suggestions about what could be done to accommodate kids on tour? I don't know if anybody has read the book of Wir sind Helden singer Judith Holofernes, who was a singer with a band on tour, and she took 2 nurses for her 2 kids, and she described it as a real challenge. Yeah, one kid trying to escape with the forklift while the other climbs the rig, and I think she would not do it again. But do you have suggestions what can practically be done to ease this?
Yeah, first of all, the festivals and the venues need to provide facilities for the kids. That's one thing. And then again, like I know that there are several like, it's more like A-level bands on tour. They are bringing family tour buses on the road. So you have like a tour bus where the families are. But also like just a mobile home. But again, that costs money. But I would say that somebody should come up with the money for that, that it should be possible to apply for funding that could, you know, help with the cost for bringing on a mobile home or a nanny on tour. That should be possible. I mean, we have I'm not supposed to swear, but we have an industry that has a turnover of $27 billion yearly. It should be possible to find some financial support to accommodate some solutions for parents that choose to bring their kids on the road. And I've seen several examples where it's actually working out great. And I did an interview according to the survey that we're working on now. I did an interview with the production manager from the late Jeff Beck. He has 2 kids, and what he did, if he could not have his kid on the road, was, first of all, he would like call them every day. So parents, that's one thing you can do, is call your kids every day. But he would also bring his kids out on the road. And if they were on board the tour bus, he would make sure that everybody on the tour bus was okay with having kids on board. And if not, then of course he wouldn't bring them out there. But sometimes, you know, it works out for maybe just a couple of days, or, you know, a week or so. And it depends on the kids, of course, you know, how are they behaving, how are they dealing with being on the road. But check in with your colleagues, you know, your co-workers, you know, if they would be okay with it. I know that Katie Malua, her front of house engineer, Brianni October, had a baby. And when Katie saw, oh, it's possible to actually have a baby and still be touring, she decided to have a kid as well. So now the 2 moms are, you know, having a family tour bus. And, you know, it's hard, but they actually managed to make it work. And one of the ways to make it work is to keep continuing with the rest of the crew, and definitely let venues and the festival you're visiting, knowing that you are coming along and you're bringing a couple of 2-year-olds, so they know that. So, you know, they might need to clean up the venues a little bit, and maybe provide a corner where the kids can be having a little bit of a playground. But I mean, it should be possible. And I really think that both festivals, venues, should start coming up with ideas how they can accommodate small kids. I know Roskilde Festival has done that for years. They have like kindergartens where the touring artists are bringing kids along. They can just go to this kindergarten. So, I mean, it would be great if all festivals had a kindergarten.
Do you have any other examples, positive examples, unlike the Roskilde Festival?
No, not really, because again, it's not really anything that the industry is talking about. So nobody's really like aware of that it is an issue at all. But I mean, like, it's really small gestures that, you know, they can all do out there on the road. It's like, for instance, having a room where if you have a woman on the tour who's breastfeeding, that there is a room where she could go and breastfeed, or where she can, you know, change diapers, you know, stuff like that. It's just small things, but it would definitely make the touring parents feel more welcome. And again, we're seeing the same issues, whether you are on stage or working backstage. It's the same thing.
And do you think do you think that the industry is open to conversations about such changes, or will this take like a period of time, a longer period of time?
No, yeah, I don't really see any major changes will happen within the next 5 to 10 years. I really don't. But again, the more women coming into the industry and actually stay in the industry, because we also have an issue with, you know, retaining women in the industry, and getting kids is one of the reasons for women to leave the industry. But the more we have, the more attention this topic will get, and we will be forced eventually to come up with solutions that will welcome parents in the industry. But you know, let's face it, this industry is, for majority, ran by men, and unfortunately, the mentality in our industry is still stuck in the 50s and the 60s, where this industry got founded. And where were the men and women back then in the 50s and the 60s, where men were out working and women were back home in the industry, in the kitchen, and taking care of the kids. And we need to confront this kind of mentality, that the gender roles are like black and white. It's not. And but I really think it's going to take a lot of years before we actually see a change. And I think a part of that, again, I'm talking about gatekeepers, the managers, the booking agencies, etc. And they are to a big part ran by men. Men don't really see this issue. It's like they don't see it as important, but it is important, because if we want more diversity, and the majority actually wants more majority, rubbish, majority wants more diversity, and if we should, get a higher number of diversity, we need to find a way to keep women in the industry, because we see too many leave, and the two major reasons for that is it's imposter syndrome. It's very exhausting to suffer for that, and more than 80% of the women in the industry is suffering from imposter syndrome to a degree where they're constantly thinking about leaving the industry. That's one thing. The other thing is also that women is leaving the industry because they're having families, and they can't see that they can combine a career in the live music industry with having a family.
So, yeah, that's a general situation for women backstage today. What would be the advantages for men? Maybe if we talk about it this way, then the 95% of men will say, okay, would be good for us too, because there's more sweets on the tour bus, whatever.
No, but that's not the thing. But in general, as I just mentioned, the majority would like to see more diversity, and that means there is a lot of men out there, male colleagues, that want to see more diversity, and that's for a reason, because several evidence-based studies shows that with more diversity, you have a more positive working environment, and we all like that. They also think that the tone is different. It's more mellowed and smooth, and also the studies also shows that the creative effort is higher than with less diversity. So not everybody, but the majority agrees that diversity is a good thing. So men are actually welcoming that we get mixed up a little bit more.
Okay. To the viewers outside at the screens, last chance for Rodence. If you have any comments or criticism, please type it into the comment section now, as we're coming slowly but steadily to the end. Malle, what role can WILM play in keeping this conversation about diversity alive? I read lots of stories about women about their daily job routines on the site. Is it the storytelling making the women visible? That's your major part?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because, then it gets normalized to see women out there. I'm still being met with, oh, she's a woman and she actually knows how to run sound. And it's sometimes a problem for me, because, for instance, if I'm having a bad day, it can be not so nice to have people staring at me because I'm a woman and like, oh God, it's like women in parallel parking. I do that very well, by the way, and I can also do it with a truck. But if you're having a bad day, it's not that nice with all that attention. But with more women, that would go away. And a lot of other issues that we're dealing with as women in the industry would just disappear if we're getting more out there. So what WILM is doing is, first of all, making women more visible, but we're also working on keeping the women in the industry. So we will just keep putting these issues that we're dealing with on the agenda, and we keep speaking up about it. But one thing that's super important that we're carefully about not doing is to, like, you know, press it down over people, because that's not how you are achieving anything. So what we're doing is we're just trying to be attractive to the minorities in the industry and hoping that they can find ground on our platform and develop their skills and expand their network, and just wanted to stay in this industry. And the more they're staying in the industry for a longer time, the more the whole group will slowly grow bigger and bigger, and then eventually it will be not, hopefully in 15 years we don't have to talk about these differences between men and women in the industry, because there isn't really that big of a difference anymore. But it would take another 15 years, 10 to 15 years at least. So in all of that time, WILM is going to stay around and being a platform for everybody who needs this kind of platform.
Okay, so hopefully we don't have to talk about this in 15 years, but you are talking about it at the upcoming LeadCon in Hamburg from 15th to 16th October, right?
Oh, yes. That is going to be really, really exciting, because there is a couple of female co-workers from the Harman Group and from Neumann and Müller. They've gotten together and asked also LeadCon to host a roundtable discussion where we are gonna hopefully determine what issues are the biggest for us to speak up about, and why, and what would solutions be to these issues. And then we're going to bring it onto the main stage at LeadCon the following day and discuss it with some of the gatekeepers on stage.
Sounds very interesting. So really looking forward to the LeadCon. You will be there, LeadCon in Hamburg, 14th to 16th October. Always worth a visit. And always worth a visit too is the WILM homepage, Women in Live Music. I don't have it right now. You can...
Yeah, it's just womeninlivemusic.eu for Europe, because we're Europe-based. And on there, you can find the crew list, which is a great guidance to, if you want to have a more diverse crew, you can go in there and you can click on countries, professions, and then you can hopefully find a qualified woman for the next tour. One thing I really like about LeadCon is actually one of my favorite trade shows, because it allows dogs and kids, and I love that.
Great. So then, see you there. Thank you so much, Malle, for joining us. And yeah, pregnancy, motherhood, and the broader role of women in live music are issues that affect our whole industry, and it's clear that there's need for a change. And if you want to learn more, check out the Women in Live Music homepage, as I said. And then see you next time here at Mothergrid. Malle, thanks for having us. See you then in Hamburg. Goodbye.
Bye.